Hey you guys, good morning. It's Thursday. Probably gonna be afternoon, evening before you see this, but it's morning for me, so good morning. Um, Welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. Brian, as always, kitchen, of course. Uh, Today I thought we'd make some coconut chocolate chip cookies. I almost said recipe to that, which wouldn't have made sense at all. Although yes, there is a recipe. My buddy Tone had asked if I'd make some. He thought they sounded really good. He's going to be here, so why not try them? Make them really good, or at least try them. I've been battling chocolate chip cookies for a minute now, looking for what I perceive to be the best chocolate chip cookie in the world. So I am taking a recipe for a chocolate chip cookie, and we're going to put coconut in it because I really want to try this. I know the coconut will alter it a little bit, but I think I know what it's going to look like in my head, so we should be okay. Either way, they're going to be good. I made a version of this recipe that made soft and chewy chocolate chip cookies yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And they were fantastic. They just didn't have the fluff to them. I'm looking for more like a cake-like, a little more airy chocolate chip. But anyhow, that being said, don't forget to subscribe. Box down below me somewhere. Notification bell right next to that. Trying to do 2 videos. We always do 2 videos. Trying to do 3 at the moment. Not always working out. That's why you just saw the processing mushrooms video earlier this morning instead of last Saturday because I forgot. And yeah, subscribe, notification bell, and then thumbs up, thumbs down, like, dislike. I'm cool either way. It kind of lets me. It does a couple things, right? It lets me know in a nutshell how I'm doing, sort of, unless you're trolling me, and that's cool too. Every thumb up, thumb down counts. So not only does it let me know how I'm doing or how you think I'm doing, it also gets us out in the algorithm for YouTube, and that gets us gets me more subscribers, which grows our neighborhood. We can have better conversations, especially if you check us out on Facebook. We got a group, Mr. Smith's Kitchen, and we got a handful of people in our little neighborhood there also. And it'd be nice for you to come join us while it's small. I mean, that way if you do have a question, it's easier to get an answer, and you'll get an honest answer. I know pretty much everybody that's in the group, and they're all good people. We don't tolerate negativity as far as like being mean. We're all about being nice to each other and, treating our neighbors like with respect. So anyhow, that being said, let's get down here to the counter, and I'll go over what we need, tell you your weights and cups and tablespoons, teaspoons, also in grams. That way more people can play along, so to speak. And so let's just get down here to the counter and get started. All right, we're down here to the counter, and which is where we do our baking and our cooking. Some things you'll need: scale, as always. They're just so handy in baking. I can't emphasize that enough. So I watched. Too many people have uneven stuff, and just because measurements weren't right, not always are your measuring cups precise. They're not always accurate, even if you level them. They might be a little big, a little small, so on and so forth. And depending on what you're baking, you can really mess with how your end result is. I'm using a stand mixer today. You can use a hand mixer. Works perfectly well. You could probably even put this together with a wooden spoon or a whisk. So, and then the last thing you'll need is a bowl. Now, to get started, we're just simply going to put our dry ingredients together, and the dry ingredients are really easy to do. We've got 2 1/4 cups of flour, 270 grams of just all-purpose flour, and to that, I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon, 2 grams of baking soda. Throw that in there, get all of it out. That, grab a whisk. We're just going to whisk that together. Excuse me. That was a heck of a cough. Very first thing I did before I even got started was I preheated my oven. I preheat my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I think it's 180 degrees Celsius. And that way we got it good and going, and it's cycled a couple times before we put our cookies in. Nobody ever talks about that. You should always let your oven cycle through its heat cycle a couple times, so it'll hit 350 the first time, then it'll start to drop a little, then it'll cycle, you'll hear it kick on. Let it do that a couple, 2-3 times, before you start baking. That way you know everything is good and evenly hot on the inside. That helps tenfold. All right, so we got our 270 grams of flour and our 2 grams of baking soda in there. We're just going to set that aside. Bam, just like that. So our next step, which will involve your processor, or your mixer, whether it's hand or otherwise, is we're going to take, this is an odd amount of butter, 187 grams, 1 3/4 cups of butter. That's a stick and 6 tablespoons, or 3/4 of a stick. Yeah. There's that. Okay, and to our butter, we're going to add, excuse me, 55 grams, 1/4 cup of brown sugar. And that's packed into your, so when you use your measuring cup, push down on it. And right underneath that is 150 grams or 3/4 cup of just plain old white sugar. And we're going to add that to our butter. And then we are going to just simply cream this until it's light in color and fluffy. Everybody always says fluffy. I say mashed potatoes. But we want it to be good and creamed, sugar and butter together, and it should look lighter in color and like a mashed potato. All right, we got that nice and creamed. Butter going good, our sugars are in there nice and good. Give me 1 second, I'll show you what I was talking about light and fluffy, or like mashed potatoes. That really is the best example I can give, because light and fluffy, it doesn't really, in my mind, make sense. There. Set that aside. Maybe. There we go. Wipe down our sides real quick. That, my friends, is light and creamy. Looks like mashed potatoes, at least in my opinion. All right, so we got those mixed together, light and fluffy. Next thing we need is to get the cookie off the shaft. There is that. Next things we're going to put in here is 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of vanilla, and it's literal grams. 2 large eggs, room temperature, 100 grams, 100-ish grams. These two actually weighed 101. There is the eggs. And we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of salt, a coarse salt, like a kosher salt. That's what it calls for in the recipe. Put that in there, and then we're just going to mix this. We're going to mix this all up. The eggs are going to break up, become incorporated in it, but we want it good and combined. All right, we got them good and combined. We're back to being light in color. It pretty much looks like a little looser version of what we had before, right there. Well, it's a lot looser version of what we had before. Give it a good scrape, like such. And then we are going to grab our flour and baking soda, and we're just going to pour this in here. Whole thing. We're not going to separate it or nothing, mostly because it doesn't say to in the instructions. And I'm just going to mix it. We're just going to mix this until everything's just combined. Doesn't have to be perfect, and then we're going to stop. Just combined, so we're going to stop. It looks good. Got that all good. Such. I'm just going to take this bowl off. Give it a good once around. There's always flour on the sides. Always. Just like such. Looking good. Now, the next thing I want to add to this, and I'm going to fold it in, is 2 cups, which is pretty much one bag, 12-ounce bag, of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Just like such. I mean, that's a ton of chocolate chips. And I have 2 cups of toasted coconut here. I just toasted it in the oven, 350 degrees, for about 2 minutes. It does not take long. I mean, if you want it darker, have at it, but you know, you can adjust it to however you like. That's about as dark as I like to go. And I'm just going to fold all this in, but I want to fold it in. I don't want to, I mean, you can use your mixer to mix this together with. If you do, and it's a stand mixer, you don't want to go past 1 or stir. In my case, mine says stir. If you have a hand mixer, don't go above 1 when you're doing it, putting it together. You'll overwork the dough. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. This batter is a little warm for my liking. It's not horrible, but I find that, at least in my world, cookies, for the most part, do better if everything's still a little cold. They stay a little firmer when you put them. They're firmer when you put them in the oven, so they don't collapse as quickly. So I'm going to put this in the fridge for about 15 minutes. While I'm doing that, I'm going to get this little area cleaned up, taken care of, and then we'll talk about the next step. All right, I'll see you here in just a second. Okay, so we let our dough sit in the fridge for about 10-15 minutes. So it firmed it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be in there long. You know, I guess it'll just depend on the heat of your kitchen, you know, as to how long it would be, you know, what the temperature is. My kitchen right now is probably about 74 degrees. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my just cookie dough scoop, which will give you about 35 grams of cookie dough, or a tablespoon of cookie dough for that matter. And we're going to put them into balls, and we're just going to set them on the tray. And we want to put these about 2 inches apart. Now, I don't know if you can see it on there, but my parchment paper actually has lines on it, and they're at 2 inches. So I can just set them in the squares and know where my 2-inch mark is, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to go ahead and get these scooped up and on a tray, and then we'll talk about how long to put them in the oven for. Okay, so we got our trays down. I did all 3 trays at once that I have, and I still have enough left over for probably another 6 cookies. So let's talk about what we're going to do. We're going to put these up in the oven, 350 degrees, right? And we're going to let them bake for about 8 to 10 minutes. I'm going to guess in my oven closer to 10. This will yield you at least 48 cookies. So you can trial and error a little bit, but start looking at them at about 8 minutes. And what you're going to look for is they should be, you know, a little golden brown around the edge, but still soft and lighter in color in the center. And they'll be good to go, I promise. So I'm going to set these in there halfway through, and in my case, I know it's going to take about 10 minutes, so at 5 minutes, I'm going to take the pan and I'm going to rotate it completely, right? So I'm going to take this pan, and at 5 minutes, I'm going to turn it around. And what that does is, in case I do have any hot spots, cold spots in the oven, it's going to let everything bake evenly. So let me get these baked, and when I come back, we'll take a look at them and see what we need to do next. All right, be right back. So the timer just started going off on our cookies, so we're going to pull them out and see how they look. And they're not quite where I want them to be yet. There they are. So they're not quite golden brown enough on the edge, so I'm going to let them go for another minute. Remember, this is a new recipe, so we're going by look versus, you know, I know this for a fact. So 1 more minute, and then we will pull them out and take another look at them. All right, been 1 more minute, and I think that's going to be good enough. I don't want them to dry out by any means. Oh yeah, okay, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera, but if you look right around the edges there of the cookies, how they're starting to turn golden brown on the top, that's what we're looking for. So what I'm going to let them do is I'm going to put the next batch in. I'm going to wait a couple minutes, let the oven regain its strength, so to speak. put the next batch in. I'm going to let those cool for about 4 or 5 minutes on the pan, and then I'm just going to stick them down on the rack below. So when I come back, we'll have them all done, cooled, and ready to try one, right? Because we're going to let those cool on that rack down to room temperature-ish, a little warm maybe. But anyhow, when I come back, we'll give one a try. See you here in just a second. We got all the cookies baked and cooled. Like I said, we just simply took them off the pan after about 5 minutes and sat on the cooling rack and let them cool. And there's the fruits of our labor, 51 cookies. I figured I'd get about 50. Now, these look a little small, I will say that. But I could always do 2 tablespoons instead of 1, or 2 scoops, roll it into a ball and set it on there. But the important thing is we try one. Oh, I don't know, there's so many to choose from. There is the fruits of our labor, and see, it's got a good thickness to it. I like the way it held up, and a couple of these don't really have a whole lot of coconut or anything in them because they were near the end, and they got a nice thickness to them also, which is kind of cool. Not quite as cakey as I was hoping for, but they got a good thickness, so I'll keep working on that. But let's give one a try and see how they turned out at any rate. Take my glasses off so you guys don't get the glare. That's rude. And let's try a cookie. Yeah. It's not as cakey as I wanted it to be. But man, the coconut and the chocolate in this just shine through with that little hint of vanilla. Yeah, that's a good cookie. You get the coconut flavors. Since we toasted it, it's really amplified compared to the ones I made earlier. And make sure you use your favorite chocolate chip cookie. That's gonna make, or chocolate chip, to make all the difference. And it is cakey. It's just not quite as. What I'll do is the next time I go to make them, I'll double the size and see what happens there, because it's got potential. I think we're on the right track at any rate. All right, we'll give this recipe a try. You won't be disappointed. They're great cookies. And let me know if you do, and if you like them. Let me know if you didn't like them. Like, Brian, these were fucking horrible, or freaking horrible. Sorry. But either way, let me know, or let me know if you've got a favorite chocolate chip recipe. You can post it on the group page on Facebook. I try as hard as I can to get recipes on there as often as possible. And I encourage you guys to do the same. So this Saturday, I'm kind of torn between a couple things to can. We're either going to do chicken broth or spaghetti sauce. I haven't decided which. So even though my tomatoes are pretty much done for the season and most of what I got is green, I still need a good marinara sauce that I can add meat to if I want. And I have a recipe, so we're going to can it. So we'll either do marinara sauce or we're going to do chicken broth, either way. But try these, all the same. That being said, I love you. Love you very much. I mean that from the bottom of my heart with all sincerity. Make some of these cookies. Take them over to somebody and tell them you love them and you love them very much. They'll know with these cookies. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, these are amazing. Definitely made with love. For me. That's what they're going to say. So, until Saturday, I love you. I'll talk to you later. All right?